we're actually right on time.
Tea time on Hub Radio. That.
The Hub Radio. Hey, welcome back to Queen's Table Talk. We're about to get into our next segment. Dear Queen. Dear Queen is where anybody can write into us and tell us they have a question. Write into us on Instagram at Queen's Table Talk, and we will gladly answer your question here on the air. We'll give you our real, unfiltered, raw advice. So let's get into our question.
Okay, I'll read the question. So this question is from a listener. I don't know if we're doing names, but I'm just going to read it. So it says, "Hey Queen, so I have this ex from a few years ago. He cheated on me and I broke up with him. And though we tried to make it work a few times, it never did. We decided to be friends and we have been ever since. Recently, he started dating this girl and he told me that he treats her like a queen because of all the things he did wrong with me. He thanked me for helping him become a better man. His girlfriend already had a daughter. That he now claims as his own, and now they are expecting a baby together. I just found out yesterday that they're getting married soon, and I can't help but feel one kind of way about it. Am I wrong for being upset that he couldn't be this man when he was with me? Do I tell him how I feel, or should I just leave it in the past? Is there something wrong with me for feeling anything at all? Help."
I love these kind of questions. No, I don't think there is anything wrong with you for feeling some kind of way about your ex getting married. I mean, I think that's only natural for us to be in our feelings and to be natural and to be honest with ourselves. Like, yeah, it would make me feel some kind of way too if my ex was out here getting married. And and he was talking about he treated her like a queen and everything like that. But at the same time, I would not say anything about it. I don't think that I would talk to him and tell him how I feel because, I mean, she said that's her ex from a few years ago. And I feel like whatever you haven't said yet, if you haven't said it already, then just leave it alone and just leave it up in the past. So you're already getting married. And at the end of the day, like, you never know. He could be being a trash boyfriend to her too. So, or trash Beyonce, whatever, to her too. You only know what he's telling you. So, and plus y'all broke up for a reason. So if he cheated on you, then I would leave it in the past and I'll just be over it.
I feel like everybody goes through this. At least
Right.
maybe like majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be okay with being the person that, so-called plants the seed. I mean, maybe you were a great girlfriend to him, but he just wasn't able to, at that time. You have to think about there's a season for everything.
Right.
So at that time, he couldn't be the best or the man that you needed him to be to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this just goes with growing. You kind of have to, go through relationships to see what you like, what you don't like. I mean, of course, you set the standard, but at the same time, you can't beat yourself up over that. And then this was a couple years ago. Like, I wouldn't say anything because it's going to be kind of like, where is this coming from out of the blue?
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, you just kind of self-reflect and say, you know what? The next person is going to be better. That's the kind of, positivity and optimistic outlook that you have to have on these type of situations, especially in, like, relationships. So.
I mean, I always have a different opinion.
Go ahead, Ms. Gates.
You have to be true to your feelings. If you guys are still friends, I think there is still room. I'm not saying that it will change the situation, but there is still open avenue for you to speak up about how you feel. I'm huge on making sure you stay true to how you feel and giving yourself like that validity to speak up on what it is. it doesn't matter how he takes it. If he just says, okay, cool, whatever, that's fine. But my thing is the self-work that you do on yourself. So, well, that was redundant, but the self-work. The self-work is getting it out and being able to effectively explain how you feel to another human being. It did, a few years is a long time, but to me, the self-work should be, I should have spoke up a while ago because it's been a few years and now he's in a situation. You still speak up, but now if the situation doesn't now play out in your favor, now when something like this does come up again, you speak up sooner. So I'm all about you definitely speaking, telling him how you feel, not expecting anything from it, but doing that only for you. However he takes it, that's his work that he needs to do within himself. However, you still owe it to yourself to be extremely true, and you don't have to keep that bottled in. That is something that it's a transaction between you and another person, and you have a right to also involve that other person in whatever you're conflicted with. So I think definitely have a conversation with him, because if not, he's going to be married, and then you're going to still be like, oh, I feel like I should tell him. Yeah, so learn from it. Do your self-work. Get it off your chest. Get it out so that it's not something that you harbor. Because as black women, we keep things internal so much. Get that out of your system so that you can move on to whatever it is you need to move on to. But also realize, learn from it and realize maybe next time, hopefully this same situation doesn't happen again, but maybe in another situation, you'll speak up sooner and you won't hold it in so long.
But I feel like, are you saying this because you want closure, or are you in your feelings? Because there's two different.
See, that's what I was gonna say though. What's your?
I mean, if you're just in your feelings, I mean, maybe she at this time now doesn't, she's not in a relationship, she's not married. Maybe those are things that she wanted,
right.
And she's seeing that, she's like, well, dang, like I can't, I'm not doing as well as.
But never forget though, the reason why they broke up in the first place was because he cheated upon her.
Exactly.
So if I know that you cheated upon me, like obviously you and I are not together for a reason. Yeah. I can respect the fact that we're not together. But the thing is that I understand what she's saying about feeling some kind of way about it though, because as women we all go through that. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't want you back. Understand that
y'all are the type, if a man cheats on you one time and this is like your love or whatever, you're like, ain't wrong, no, I'm not going back, or this is over.
For me?
Both of you guys.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna say what I'm not gonna do, and because I've done it before where I've had my exes cheated upon me and I have stayed with him. But after a while I was like, no, I'm leaving, I'm done. But eventually it's like, I don't know. In my mind right now, because I'm single, I'll be like, no, I'm leaving you.
Well,
but I'm like, that's why I say though, you can't really say what you're gonna do and what you're not gonna do. But I'm saying I have done it.
I don't know. I'm kind of like on the fence. Like I feel like I'm always about like why did this happen? What's the reasoning like to every situation? So I mean, if we discuss it and I find out like, okay, it's because you didn't feel appreciated, neglect, blah blah. I'm not saying that's a reason for you to cheat, but the reasoning behind it, if we can figure that out and then I can kind of make up my mind, that's like how I would go about it. I wouldn't just be like, no, like especially if you put time into this relationship, like that's the number one thing. How long have you guys been together? Because time is something you can never get back.
This is true. This is very true.
That's what honestly I would say. Just kind of just seeing like what's your guys' history. And I'm pretty sure if he cheated before, cheated once, he probably was, signs were coming up, I'm sure he just didn't
But
cheat
look,
out the
y'all,
blue.
but look, okay, so in her letter, she said we tried to make it work a few times, but it never did.
So yeah, he didn't put the effort in to reassure her.
Right.
Or maybe she had a lack of trust.
Maybe you never know.
We don't know all parts of the letter, so.
But at the end of the day, she said, should I tell him or do I leave it in the past? Me personally, I would leave it in the past, because let me tell you, if we broke up a few years ago and I'm still, and like me and you are still friends and we still corresponding, I probably would have told you by now how I already felt.
But you can't, my thing is, be true to yourself. If you feel like you should, which it doesn't seem like from this letter, then go and speak. But that is to get it off your chest, because at the end of the day, we can't sit here and go, not even just as women, but as human beings, when something is bothering us, it continues to fester and turns into different things. So now, when she gets into a relationship, she's going to be like, oh, maybe I should have told him, maybe this won't work out. Like, no, girl, do yourself a favor and drop that. drop it where it needs to be dropped. If he want to deal with it the way he want to deal with it, that's fine. If he want to, okay, hold on to the relationship that he's in and try and bring things back to you, if you're okay with that, then let that happen. But you owe it to yourself to drop that off. Because we internalize things way too much. You owe it to yourself to get it off your chest. And however if he wants to be mad and be like, you only gonna say this because I'm married. Okay, bye. I told you because I have a right to speak. I have a right to say how I feel. And you are the other person that is on the end of my feelings. So that is why I came to you. Go ahead. If that's what you're feeling, go ahead and do that. We internalize and keep stuff in way too much. I'm ending that cycle.
Yeah.
So go do what you got to do. Tell him.
Well, maybe she wants to say something now because it finally clicked in his head. Like, okay, maybe I was doing X, Y, and Z wrong with her. So maybe that's why she's like, oh, I want to tell him now.
You talking about it clicked up in his head?
Yeah, it clicked up in his head. Like, now that he's getting married and he's kind of like, being the man that he should be to a woman, maybe it clicked in his head, like, this is how I should treat, somebody. And now that's why she's like, I want you to know that at this time, you weren't doing what you were doing now.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really up to, like, if you need that closure, then do it. If you don't, if you're just doing it because you're like, I feel some type of way, then maybe not. Maybe not open that
my
door.
thing is, regardless of whatever the reasons are, that is a feeling. And we can't ignore feelings. So because the feeling doesn't seem justifiable, it is still there. Just me wanting to go and, like, beat somebody up for something they did, like, that's a feeling that I have, and I need to address that feeling. Just because it's not a good idea, it doesn't mean I don't address the feeling. Now, she don't need to go sleep with him. She might be like, ooh, I'm attracted to him. She don't need to go sleep with him. But what she does need to do is address the feeling, whether she's in her feelings or whether she's justified.
Well, maybe that's a self-reflection moment. Maybe
but you have to get it out.
Yeah. Maybe everybody deals with it differently. Like, maybe that's one, like, thing she has to do is just sit back and kind of say, like, why do I feel this way? What is making me want to go and address him? Do I still have feelings for him?
Are you addressing him out of being lonely? Or are you addressing him because you really feel like that?
Where
and I think that's the big
reflection comes in. You have to see, like, where you at with yourself, so.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
But then again, at the end of the day, you can't tell people how to feel. I mean, me personally, like I said, I wouldn't do it. Jasmine says, "Go ahead, girl, do it."
And I'm kind of like just
in between.
See where, like, how you feel. Like, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't just do it just because you feel sad because you're not married yet.
At least for me, because I just feel like, especially if I know that he's getting married now, I just feel like my timing would be off. Like, now,
because you don't know her intentions. Her intentions aren't to get back with him or to sleep with him. That's what I'm saying. Like, leave whatever his reaction is to him, but we still need to be true to ourselves and get that off of our chest. Because even in Best Man or Brown Sugar or something, they were best friends, and he was about to get married.
Brown Sugar.
And she was telling him, like, and she was
oh yeah,
So like, situations like that happen, and she wasn't wrong in doing that. Like, she would have really had to live, like, with herself, not speaking up. So I think it's something that you just have to be true to your feelings. Like, and that goes into me being unapologetic. My cousin. My cousin is the creator of the movie.
That's one of my favorite movies.
There's one thing I will say, though. One thing I've always learned is that if you gonna go and you gonna try to go and get closure, understand that you got to be ready for whatever that person is going to say to you. So even it can go left or it can go right, whatever. But either way, you just got to make sure that you are prepared, because there's a good chance he may not be receptive to you. Right. There's a chance that he may not reciprocate the feelings. Exactly. So if you are prepared and you already worked that out in your mind that, you know what, even if this goes left, I'll be okay, then by all means do you, But I think, as long as you work it out with your feelings, then by all means.
So we hope we helped you a little bit.
Just a little bit. Oh my God. Man, I hope he said something to help you.
We kind of all over the place.
Oh my God.
I mean, there's three of us, so of course our answers are gonna be all over.
Right, we all are. That's okay though. I think we good. I think that we give good advice though.
Yeah.
Some different perspectives though. Take whatever perspective that you want. But
exactly.
and tell us what you
Yes, tell us what
Send
you
your
think.
questions, guys. We want to hear from you.
Yes, so if you guys had any questions that you would like the Queens to answer here on Queens Table Talk,
Hit us
please
on the
DM us on Instagram at Queens Table Talk, and we will answer your questions here live at the Hub Radio.
Hey.
Hey, so
Okay.
let's get into
yes, we're gonna get into my segment of Gates Presents. We didn't really discuss what we do or who we are, so let's take a little bit of that time. So I am Jasmine Renee, someone that just works heavily in the community. I'm also an educator, and just have a deep passion for community and culture issues, whether it be fighting for women, fighting for men, fighting for children. I'm an advocate for all three. Rooting for everybody black, of course.
Hey.
But that's the only perspective I can basically speak from. So that's me. I'm just an advocate for bettering us and ways in which I can be a catalyst to a better community. So I'm gonna get into some talk about the NFL. So I know it's Queen's Table Talk. We're not all, that's probably something different, but it's about basically social injustices. It's along the lines of the Kaepernick situation, of him kneeling, him not having a job now, and now we see other teams kneeling. So for those of us that don't know, Mike Ditka, who is a coach, a former NFL player, and is a Hall of Fame coach. So he basically coached in the NFL. He was active in the NFL for 25 years. He recently made a comment saying oppression has not been active in America for the past 100 years. So meaning we are in 2017. So he's saying that prior to 1917, that's when all the oppression happened, and between 1917 and 2017, there was no oppression. Now, he said, maybe I'm just not up on whatever is going on, and I'm just speaking from a point of being unlearned and ignorant to it, but he just doesn't see it. Now, he went on to say things about Muhammad Ali and Jesse Owens, and he said they were, those are athletes that he saw in his time, and he said they were very pleasant men, they were pleasant people, but he thinks as NFL players, as people that do professional sports, he feels like they shouldn't speak up against the injustices that are going on. Now, my thing is, he was saying they should represent the NFL better, and they shouldn't kneel or protest against the American flag, and if they continue to, then they should get out of America and play somewhere else. Now, my thing is, that is equivalent to slavery, or very close to slavery. When you work for a corporation or you are giving your talents to something else, you are basically, and that corporation doesn't represent you in the way that you are representing them, that stems back to slavery. So my thing is, if you want me to effectively represent this corporation, you also need to understand that if I want to stand up for people that are being killed like me in this country that we live in, then you also, because I am a worker here, you should also be in arms with me fighting against this cause. Me having to represent the corporation and the corporation not representing me is slavery, regardless if you're getting paid or not. This is a two-way street. You want to use our talents, but you don't want to sit up here and represent us. So then, if I become victim of police brutality, are you guys going to actually fight for me or not? Or are you guys just going to say, oh, okay, that was another accident, let's just put it behind us? He was saying they don't respect our flag, and my thing is, you guys don't respect us.
Hello.
So why should I respect basically a piece of cloth with 3 colors on it? Why am I respecting that if you're not going to respect me as a human being or my brothers or my sisters that look like me? And he also said, you have to be colorblind in this country. And my thing is, that is the exact reason why we see, that's not the exact reason. It is, if we're gonna advocate for being colorblind, then we also need to advocate, if we're gonna advocate for black people being colorblind, we need to advocate for cops being colorblind, because the police brutality, we as African Americans make up for 13% of the population. We make up for 31% of police brutality and the killings by police. So it just doesn't make sense to me that we're basically 10% of the population, but we're 30% of, you know, the people that are dying from these issues. And it's like, if you're going to say be colorblind, okay, cool. You telling us to be colorblind, but tell these cops to also be colorblind when they stop black people. They teach them to stop black people and people of color more so than they stop white people. So the colorblind thing, it don't work with me. If you were going to say it's a twofold thing where they're also being colorblind, as in these cops, then that's cool. But it just doesn't make sense to me as how he said, like, within the past 100 years. Because if you just look at sports, like, between 1961 and 1988, that's when he basically played. And about 10 years before that, black players weren't even in the NFL. And there's also a movie entitled Brian's Song that basically shined a light on issues that were going on when he was in the NFL and his teammates, based on social injustices and them being oppressed. So my thing is, you've just been blind. Your privilege is showing, and your privilege have covered your eyes to the social injustices that have went on, and you made this statement. This statement came out, I think, either last night or today. So I'm expecting an apology. He missed the mark once again. Everybody misses the mark when they're talking about racial issues.
Oh my God.
But you just can't. You really can't. Like I said, it was 1934 to 1946. There were no black players in the NFL, and it wasn't even a written rule. It was just unwritten understanding that that all the owners had. We're not picking up black players. And as well as the Jim Crow laws, those laws were taken out in 1965. Like, that was employment, that was housing, that was even just eating. You couldn't sit in places. Education, all of that went into play and was stopped at 1965. And he's saying from 1918 to now, we didn't have oppression or any type of segregation law. Like, there were actual laws put in place up until 1965. And why was Martin Luther King and Malcolm X's and everybody else that was with them, Rosa Parks, why were their movements so big if we weren't going through oppression? Like, that's like us going in here, oh, you know, we want black walls. Well, there's black walls in here. Well, we want the mayor to come in here and give us black walls. No, there's already black walls in here. Like, it would be redundant for us to advocate for black walls when they are here. But if there weren't black walls and we wanted them, then boom, we have a movement, and then the movement becomes big. But if oppression wasn't there, then Martin Luther King's work would have been in vain. When they killed him, who was the president? Ronald Reagan?
Girl, don't ask me.
Who
I'm
else
not,
was?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna say Ronald Reagan. I really think it was either him or Nixon. One of them were the president.
It probably was.
They
No, it wasn't
passed,
Nixon. I don't think it was Nixon.
Passed a law basically as a result of him dying, because he did die, and he died for a cause. And the world is now a better place because he did die, not because we don't have him, but because he died for a cause. So if he didn't die for anything, or if him dying didn't like affect us in a positive way, I guess then you're right. But it definitely did. It changed a lot of things that we see now. We're able to go to school. We're able to eat where we want to eat. We're able to ride the transportation. Jobs are a little iffy, but we're still getting them. So I have to say, I'm not here for it. Here for the BS that you're trying to feed us. So,
Who said this again?
Mike Ditka.
Who is he? He a white man, right?
He played for the Chicago Bears.
He coached for the
Coached
Chicago
the
Bears.
Chicago
I don't even know who
if
this man
He
is.
coached
Yeah,
for the Chicago Bears.
I don't even
John F. Kennedy. Okay, thank you.
Here's John F. Kennedy. Who said that? Shout out to you.
Clearly, we don't know our
Right.
history.
You hate Xavier?
Thank you,
my
Xavier.
God.
Oh, is that Xavier?
Yeah,
Hey,
shout out to
Xavier.
you. Hey, thank you
Oh
so
my
much
God.
for checking
Wow,
us.
that's real. That's real.
Right, that's so clever of
Yeah,
you.
but thanks for that. So Kennedy he did pass a law after King passed away because of, you know, his death, and he had no intentions on doing it, but basically to soothe America, that's what he did. So to Mike Ditka, and he's also known as like America's coach. So
Yeah, he was in that movie.
he was in Kicking and Screaming, and I was really an advocate for him, but
That movie.
yeah, I did too. But he's gonna come out with an apology. If not, then whatever.
It's expected.
You missed the mark. Along with Dove, along with Shea Butter,
Along with
everybody
Pepsi.
else.
Pepsi,
and
too.
The Kardashians and who else?
Everybody over
Yeah.
here missing the mark.
Mhm.
I don't have time.
We don't have time for it. But yeah, so that's Gates Presents. We're gonna get
Yes.
into a break, and when we come back, we're hitting a little bit of lovely.
A little bit of lovely. Hey.
man. Drop top. They go the cops. They go the cops. They go the cops. Is it because of my people? Is it because of my sneakers? Is it because of my jersey? Is it because it I'm perfect?